So I don't know where you are in the world or where you are in the galaxy or in the universe of consciousness, but we're here every week at the same time. So right now it is 10 a.m. Los Angeles time. That is where I'm making this video for you from. That's where we're streaming from today. Los Angeles, California. So it's 10 a.m. here. If you're in the United States, 1 p.m. Eastern time every single week. I come here and I open this space and I hold this space just for you so that you can think about and reconnect with and center yourself back inside of your health and your well-being. That's what this time is for. Not only are you in Los Angeles, California, you're making my whole day. Scotty! Hi, baby. Okay, one of my favorite people in the world is here with me right now. So that makes me a super duper 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 happy. Scotty, I'm so happy you're here, my love. It is the middle of summer. We're almost right at the center of summer. I think of summer as June, July, and August. We're almost to the middle of August. I think the 15th is on what? Tuesday, something like that. So I hope you're enjoying your summers, and I hope you're using this summer as a turning point or a tipping point for positive results in your health. And when we talk about health here, we talk about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, sexual, daily stress management, health, relationship health, all the kinds of things that have to do with your wholeness and your thriving. I want that for you. I want it for myself, and I want it for our beautiful planet that we can really thrive. So as soon as I'm done talking, I'm not going to talk forever today, but as soon as I'm done talking, set a little timer and then just be with yourself and your health. What can you do today? What can you do this week? What could you research? What could you contemplate that might give you a healthier, happier life journey? That's what I want for you. So that is why we are here. Scotty says no better way to start a Sunday than with you. Honey, thank you. I love you. Okay, so it's going to be a doozy today because I want to talk about something that's really important that I don't know if a lot of people are thinking about. And this relates to health because health, oh, first of all, sir, sidebar, thank you. We have almost 300 subscribers. 300 subscribers is really big for us here because we're only here once a week. So this is all we do is once a week I come on and help you gather and think and organize your mind and your heart around your health. So one time a week, 300 subscribers, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. So I'm super duper duper thankful to everybody who subscribed, everybody who would hit the like. I got 41 people in here just now. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Big kisses to you. Please hit that like button. If I got 41 people, I'd like 41 likes. I appreciate you. All right, so Benny is dropping some numbers. Okay, boy. But the topic that I want to talk about today is going to get a little bit deep, but it's hopefully going to matter to you a lot because it's all about you. And I have a big question for you. This is like a deep question, and I know I'm going to get some crazy wild answers, and I'm looking forward to laughing. Thank you. Oh, Lindella's here, one of my favorite people on the planet. Welcome in. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Big kisses to you. Who else? We have Pat, cousin Pat. Hi, sweetie. So happy you're here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm dropping my pen. Let's see here. I'm ready to pay $1 million for one night. Excellent. Healthy Habits Huddle on Cash App. Healthy Habits Huddle. Hopefully they take increments of 1 million. I appreciate you. That's fantastic. Hi, Paul. How are you? Okay, so let's get into it. Vicky, big kisses to you, my love. Mwah. Hello. This is the question, and we're going to get a little bit deep today, but I hope you can hang. How do you define yourself? And where have you picked up these definitions? And this can be a kaleidoscope of things. This can be changing kind of perspective. Maybe you're different in one moment than the next, but I need to offer an invitation to you to define yourself in a way and in ways that you might not have thought about before. And we're going to talk about that today, but I'd like to hear, I'm good, Deepak. Thank you for asking. Hi, Kayla. How are you, lovey? How do you define yourself, Kayla? Lindell, Scotty? Do you think about this ever? Do you define yourself by your gender? Do you define yourself by your sex at birth? Do you define yourself by your job title, by some sort of role that you have in your family, by what somebody told you about your race, your nationality, your ethnicity? Do you define yourself by some sort of a religious ideal? How do you really decide or define who you are, and why does it matter? I think it matters hugely because it impacts and affects how you're going to live your life and what you're going to do on every single day of the year. you're going to make decisions, how you're going to feel about yourself, when you're going to give yourself an advantage, when you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, when you're going to let other people steal your life force from you, when you're going to let other people manipulate and control you, and when you're not. So I think it really, really does matter. Sadiq says, can you show your outfit? Yeah, honey, everything you see here is that's it. That's it. I'm actually just a mirage from here down. So sorry about that. So, all right, nobody's going to tell me how they define themselves. Maybe you haven't thought about it before. So I want to give you some perspective, and I want to give you a little idea. So much of how I always look to nature. I like to look to nature for guidance because nature's been around a long, long time. Nature's been here before us, and nature's going to be here after us. When I think about nature, I think about this planet. I think about planet Earth. I think about the sun and the moon and the solar system, the stars in the sky, and all that sort of stuff. So much vastness exists, and here I am, here you are, a part of it. I think it is wise to begin your definition of yourself in a way that relates to the bigness and the vastness and the eternity that is existence. So that is contrasted against defining yourself based on what a temporary society like the ones we live in now, a temporary country like the one I live in, the one you live in, whatever, the whole earth has been divided up amongst all these little, farms and factories. But if you're defining yourself based on something temporary, like a nationality or this idea, for instance, of race, which did not exist several hundred years, like 500 or 600 years ago, it was just becoming an idea. So civilizations have risen and fallen and become no more. They are literally dust underneath our feet. Civilizations much bigger and more powerful than anything that we know today have arisen and they have fallen. And this one is taking its inhale and will take its exhale. And if we define ourselves based on these temporary, ephemeral, quite flawed, generally, ideas, we're going to live a life, I think, that is limited in its scope. And I think we will not own ourselves in the way that nature intended. And I think it is a big deal. Scotty says, I define myself by my body and how I feel. Very first person. I love that. I love being a man, especially this man, so much. That is fantastic. So Scotty has anchored into something by nature, anchored into something internal and personal that he can be up at close first person with. I think that is really, really smart. It's not something that someone else can tell you how to feel in your body. You get to define that for yourself. And I think that's powerful. And I think that is smart. Hi, darling. Los Angeles Royal, thank you for asking. Okay, thank you for answering, Scotty. I think that's really important. I want to give you a couple of additional thoughts, not just you, Scotty, but everybody who's here. If you think of yourself, so there's this, I think it's from Thus Spake Zarathustra, something like that, some big fancy book. But I heard Joseph Campbell talk about this, that every human being goes through a few different stages of development, that we're born as a camel, and the camel, you're a little baby, you come in as this camel and all of the ideas of society are piled on top of you. This is something, we all go through. We're kids, we're born, we're here, we're babies, we're like, however we are in our own little unique personalities. And then we're born into a family that has its ways, into a community that has its ways, into a society that has its ways. And we learn and, what's cool, what's not cool, what's okay, what's not okay, what's good about us, what other people like for us to do and not do, what we're acceptable in which ways we're acceptable and which ways we're not, all this stuff. We take it on and take it on and take it on, like a camel taking on burdens on its back. That's this first stage. Then the next stage of development is that we're to grow into a lion, and the lion is the will. So, right? The lion is the I am, or I will aspect of the self. So after we've taken on all of this stuff from society, we have to get to the point where rather than just carrying it all and being obedient to all of it, we have to rise up and say, you know what, I'm going to define myself. Now, this begins a battle, and the battle is with a dragon. So the dragon has a bunch of scales all over its body, and the scales, each scale is a thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that, all the commandments of society and expectation and all of those sorts of things. And the job of the lion is to roar and say, I will define myself. You don't get to tell me. And so the lion has to deal with each one of the scales on the dragon, and once it has defined itself and said, I know who I am, I'm going to define myself for myself, then the lion transforms into a child. And only at that point, when they are innocent, and what I mean by innocent is not toxic, not poisoned by society, not defined from without, but defined from within, that person can be authentic and can be free and can be self-defined. And that is what I want for all of us. I want you to live your life for you, and I want it to be authentic to you, and I want it to be in accordance with nature and the eternal, because all of these smoke and mirrors and temporary definitions that we are invited to participate in can and likely will, thank you for the hearts, my loves, can and likely will fail you at some point. And I do not want you to be failed by these definitions. I don't want your energy to be siphoned off of you. I don't want you to be seduced into believing that you are something that is actually not good for you. This happens every single day. If we are raised in a patriarchal society and we're told that we're a woman and that we're supposed to do XYZ because patriarchy says this, then that can, if we take it on, that can affect how we see ourselves, and we can see ourselves as less than. The other side of something like that, whether it's patriarchy, white supremacy, this, that, the other, all these stupid ideas that confused people came up with to get a temporary advantage because they did not know how to harmonize with nature. It not only hurts the oppressed, it hurts the oppressor, because every human being is here by the authority of nature. But when you betray that and go and pledge allegiance to some stupid temporary thing, and you think you're on top because you're a part of this stupid temporary thing, well, now you're needy. Now you need to be that and need to be seen as that and need to be a part of the club. And now the club owns you. And now you no longer own yourself. You no longer have that autonomy. So it's bad for anybody and everybody when we start identifying based on stupid ideas that desperate sociopaths had before we got here. Okay, official says, support me, friends. All right, we're sending you support, love. Krishna says, you don't understand what you're talking about. Krishna, how do you know, baby? Game Fun says, I'm suffering from ADHD. Even my life is not like a normal person. Game Fun, how are you handling that, babe? What are you doing to try to get better? I don't know. Lauren Sims, hi, sweetie, happy to have you in here, my love. So we're having a deep conversation about how we define ourselves. So it's just a question that I want you to bring into your week. How do you define yourself, and how could you define yourself in a way that would be more empowering to you and to your life? One of the things I love is that I've heard like stories of people who are in their 80s and 90s and up, they just stop caring. They stop caring about how they were told to behave and what they were told to think about themselves as they were coming up and all of that. And they just start speaking it like it is. Well, I'd like to invite all of us, if we have not gotten to our 80s and 90s and up in years yet, begin now. Begin shedding all of the things that are inauthentic for you. Start defining yourself based on something that goes beyond the stupid little boxes that our society has created that we're supposed to live in. That's my invitation for you today. I'm glad Lawrence is here. I'm from Los Angeles. Rahan, thank you for asking. Scotty says, what is so fun about life is that you're always free to reinvent yourself. Yes! Reinvent yourself, redefine yourself, decide what is good for you today. Try it all on. There's nothing wrong with trying this on and trying that on, but I do believe there is a seed. There is a seed and an essence in each of us. And I think the biggest thrills in life, like Scotty's saying, the biggest thrills in life is to experiment and reinvent and try things on and define and redefine yourself. And I think what happens in that process is that we can get to a purity. We can get to an essence. So we can say, you know what? This is really the purest, rawest form of me and who I am today. And I can see maybe I wasn't like that a year ago, but maybe I was like that 20 years ago or something like that. And really have a chance to celebrate that authenticity and do it within the context, like I said, of something much bigger and much grander than this silly, upside down, and often backward society would offer. I love that, Scotty. Yes. Arjun says, I have some vitamin B2 and D3 deficiency. What to do? I had injection, but still. Oh, Arjun, sweetie, I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I apologize, my love. I don't know. I don't have your answer. But I trust that your journey, if you stay dedicated to it, will unfold before you in a very prosperous and abundant way, and that your health will continue to increase tenfold, 20-fold, 50-fold. I'm going to leave you with one little story before we go, and that is about someone who I think it illustrates this idea of being in a role and how disadvantageous it can be to define yourself by something that is just not, it doesn't work for you. It may work for others, but it doesn't work for you, which I think is a level of self-betrayal that none of us really needs to waste time on. Okay, I knew this person and their parents, they were from England, United Kingdom. Parents were both from United Kingdom. Mom and dad came to US to visit their child, and they went out to a restaurant. Mom and dad are at a restaurant. They went to a Mexican restaurant. So they sit down, the waiter bring, they, I guess, place their order, whatever. The waiter brought the plates and the napkins and the little silverware thing, whatever. And they're waiting and they're waiting, and their food isn't coming. Their food isn't coming. Their food isn't coming. And they're just sitting there, and the dad's starting to get angry. He's like, oh, when are they going to bring our food? This is ridiculous. There's nobody else in here, da, 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 da. The wife is just sitting there smiling. Oh, honey, it'll be okay, da, 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 da. They wait 5 minutes. They wait 10 minutes. It's like 15 minutes. He's ready to blow his top. There's a little interaction with the waiter. Come to find out, when they brought the silverware and the napkin roll thing, that was actually they were burritos. That was the food that they had ordered, and it had been sitting there in front of them. The husband had never seen that before. He wasn't familiar with burritos. He didn't have them back in the UK. So he thought it was just the silverware with the napkin rolled around it sitting on a plate. And the wife knew, but because of her role as a good wife, she couldn't tell him or interrupt him or any of that to say, sweetie, this is the food we can eat. She sat there not eating, letting him go through his whole emotional thing, hoping in her role as the wife not to offend her husband and to let him, take the lead. And that's just silly. Everybody's stomachs are growling. Everybody's ready to eat. But that's just a story to illustrate that when we define ourselves in these roles, it's just not good for anybody. All right, that's it. That's all I have to say today. Love from India. Love back to you. Jordan, Victoria. Mwah, big kisses to you. I hope you have a great day. Take a few minutes. Think about your health. I love you, and more next week. We'll be here at 10 o'clock next week, and I'm going to talk about something. I think what I'm going to talk about next week is something that's going to be really good for your bones and your brain. A healthy habit that's going to be good for your bones and your brain. The healthy habit today is get into the habit of defining yourself in ways that expand you, put you in harmony with nature, and give you an advantage. All right, love and kisses. Putting that burrito story in, please do. I love that, Scotty. Mwah. Kisses, baby. Take care.